Most of us walk past fungi without even seeing them, but your iPhone can open up a whole new world under your feet. With a simple macro lens like the Reeflex 240mm lens, you can turn tiny mushrooms into huge detailed portraits, all without carrying a big camera kit. With a simple macro lens like the Reeflex 240mm and the added macro attachments, you can turn tiny mushrooms into huge detailed portraits. So I'm back out again photographing fungi, but this time I've given myself a challenge. I can only take equipment that I can fit into my vest. So naturally, I'm going to be using my iPhone for this video. I have an LED panel and I also have the macro lenses from Reeflex. So let's go and see what can we do with the minimum amount of gear that I can carry on my body without taking any tripods and no backpacks and no big gear. So I've recently upgraded my phone from a 15 Pro Max to a 17 Pro Max. And what this has done is it's upgraded the telephoto lens to a 48 megapixel sensor. Now that is a massive improvement over the 15 Pro Max that I had a few months ago. And as you know, if you've seen my previous videos, you know I love using telephoto lenses on the telephoto camera to give a lot of working distance when I'm using my phone for macro. So that's what I'm going to be using in this video. But before I do any of that, I want to take a picture with just my phone. So we have some mushrooms down here that we have found, and there's a nice little mushroom that's poking out here and another one just down from that one. The camera app that comes with the iPhone is all automatic. It's automatically going to detect if you're close enough to use a macro mode. I'm going to turn the phone upside down. That's simply so I can get the lens into where I want it to be. And then we're going to take a picture. You can see there how it just jumped and switched into a macro mode. So I've just taken a couple of pictures of those mushrooms, and what you'll notice is if I bring up the images now, you can actually see my bag in the background. So what you notice there is those are images I would call snapshots. The background is quite in focus. You can actually see my bag in the background. It's another reason why I like to use add-on lenses, because of the depth compression you can create and the separation from your subject and your background by blowing out the background so it's all blurred. Let's get the reflex lenses out now. And let's take another picture of this mushroom. So I have the 300mm macro attachment for my reflex lens. This is the telephoto 240mm. Now if I was to use that on its own, I'd be all the way back there. So that's no good for our particular subject. So I'm going to clip on the macro 300mm lens and let's take another picture. And this is where you're going to run into the first problem. And that is, I've got no control over which lens the app is using. It's really annoying, it really is. So currently you can see the it keeps switching, look. Can you see? So I just don't bother with that. So what I will do is I will use the Reeflex app. So this is their Reeflex Pro camera app, and it's great for this type of photography. So we have a similar view that we had before, but I have control over which camera I can use. So we can use the ultra wide and got the telephoto. Now instantly down the bottom you can see it's a 48 megapixel image now rather than being 12 that was on my 15 Pro Max. And this is where you have to make a decision here, because again, very irritatingly, Apple for some unknown reason I've made it so if you mess with any of the settings, your camera will be reduced to a 12 megapixel shot. So at this point you want to choose, do you want a high resolution shot or do you want control over your settings? At the moment I'm going to go for a high resolution shot, so I'm going to make sure I'm in Pro RAW 48 megapixels. I'm going to change my focusing to the nearest focusing point and then I'm going to take a picture. So you can see from that one shot the difference that it makes having a lens on your iPhone. The look, the feel, the depth compression, the out of focus background is so much better using the reflex lens than it is just using the standard iPhone macro mode. So when I'm out looking for mushrooms and fungi, I'm looking for mushrooms where I can create separation from the subject and the background. We've got a perfect example right here with this mushroom that's growing out of this log. But before we photograph it, I want to show you what happens if we do mess with the settings now. The Reeflex Pro camera app gives you full control over all of the settings for your camera. But if you watch here where it says 48 megapixels, if I come into my shutter speed, I haven't even changed the shutter speed. As soon as I clicked on it, it downgrades it to a 12 megapixel. So again, this is where you need to think ahead about your shot. Do you want high resolution or do you want control over your camera settings? And again, this isn't the Reeflex app, this is Apple that have made it into their phones basically, and I don't know why. If anyone knows the technical side of why that happens, then let me know in the comments below. So for me, when I'm going to be photographing a mushroom, I will try the 48 megapixel first. I will then review the image and see, is the image okay? If it is, great, I'll move on. But the iPhone tends to use a lower shutter speed, I think, to keep the ISO low, so it's a lot cleaner image. And when that happens, you can get motion blur. Let's take a shot of this mushroom here. Now what you might see is a green outline around the mushroom. That's my focus peaking. That is turned on by using this little eyeball icon down the bottom left. We can also turn on our histogram as well to help you out with your exposure. But again, you've not got much control over if you want to use the 48 megapixel sensor. Now again, we can also introduce light, and following my rule that I said at the beginning of the video, everything has to fit into my vest. So unfortunately I can't bring the small rig lights with me because they don't fit in. But what I have got is a Lume Cube Panel Pro 2. That fits perfectly in my pocket. So I'm going to bring my Reeflex app up now. And again, all the settings are on automatic because we want to use the 48 megapixel sensor. I'm just going to light up the mushroom and prop it up somehow. I pop a piece of wood there. Yeah. I can then prop up my light. And again, always go in and review your image to make sure that it's good. I want to get a little bit more creative with this mushroom. So I'm going to try and prop up my light in the background and then put in some sort of colour in the background. So we're going to try this. I need something big and heavy. So pop that against there and then pop that up like so. Just do it like that. There we go. So I've got my light propped up in the background, and what I want is a big brown leaf to go on the light so it lights up the background with a nice orange glow. Let me go find a leaf now. Oh, there's a hole in it. It might work though. Of course, try and make sure your light doesn't fall on your mushroom. Let's have a look. So I'm going to need a little bit more compression, so I'm going to switch over to the 200mm lens and we'll see what that looks like. So yes, and now we're getting a nice autumn feel background to the image doing that little trick, and it's a great little trick you can try on your own mushroom photography. Balls. And that's one of the reasons we have high quality gear, because if you drop it, it doesn't matter. When you're doing this type of photography, you've got to choose where to focus, and there's 3 points you can focus on. Front of the mushroom, the stalk of the mushroom, or if there's some sort of subject on the mushroom like a water droplet or a fly, that's where you would focus. Now of course, to get around that, we can focus stack. You can focus stack using an app on the iPhone. I'm not going to do that in this video, I'm going to save that for a future video, so make sure you subscribe if you want to see focus stacking on the iPhone using the Reeflex lenses. So fungi portraits on your iPhone using the Reeflex lens. It's actually a very fun and challenging project that you can do. And again, I don't have to bring all of my gear out, don't need all the tripods, I don't need my big bag and my camera, just my iPhone and an attachment lens. You can check out in the description for a link to get your copy of the Reeflex lens. I've really enjoyed this challenge of photographing mushrooms using just my iPhone and whatever I can fit into my vest. I'm going to be doing more videos in the future, so I look forward to those. So thank you again to the end of this video. As always, I'll see you on the next one.